All right. Happy Thursday, everybody. It is February 23rd, and we're going to do a little review of our outreach tasks and see what we can do to help get people talking about Backdrop. So I think it was last Monday we sent the newsletter? Sometime recently. And it did a pretty good job of getting people talking about Backdrop, at least if the contact form on backdropcms.org is any indication. So that's good. I don't know what else happened since then. I think there's been a little bump in downloads. At least I haven't been watching the download numbers, but they looked high when we grabbed a copy of them to do our talk at Sand Camp last weekend. So that's good. So the Facet Interactive folks reached out last week asking if we wanted to send a newsletter this month and what our topic should be. And I had no good ideas. So I don't know if you guys have good ideas of what we should talk about. I told them we had a lot of stuff we were working on, but I didn't know if any of those things would be ready to send a newsletter this month. Like the new website homepage, a showcase of Backdrop sites, our new forum, a translation server. Like we've got a lot of irons in the fire, but none of them really have like a end date that is clear. So I don't know if there's anything else that we want to tell our people about this month, if any of you have any ideas.
What's happening with the new site design?
We have a design. Wes isn't around anymore to implement it. So last week I kicked it to Luke, who offered to do some of the theming on it. It turned out to be kind of a bigger project than we thought it was, because it's not just a home page. It involves replacing all of the layouts that are currently on the site that have the double sidebar with the single column version that has the responsive menu on it. And Wes created a version of a site that used a Basis sub-theme, but it inherited all of the branding from Basis and lost all of Backdrop's branding. And so from where we are now, we have two paths forward. We can either try and go through and redo all of the stuff that was already done in the existing theme, like copying and pasting the code from the current theme to the new theme and hoping it works. Or we could just add a new homepage design to the current theme. And so when I looked at it and was like, oh, someone needs to finish this, it seemed like the shortest path from we have a design to we need to implement it was to just add the new design style to the current theme rather than trying to rebuild the whole theme. And I think that if Wes was working on it, he would have been a better person to do it the other way, because he knew exactly what was in Basis and what needed to be overridden and where and how. But because I'm not very familiar with Basis, that seems like a lot of work to me to like figure out what's the difference between what we have and what's in Basis and what needs to be overridden and what doesn't. So
probably not good that we're scared of our new core theme though.
Not scared, just that there's a learning curve there, right? Like we've already solved these problems and we need to solve them again if we do it with Basis. Mm-hmm. And so I gave it to Luke and said, take a look at what Wes did. There's probably some great stuff in there that we could just, you know, if we wanted to take his like responsive menu styles and drop them into our theme, that might be a really fast way to kind of leverage everything he'd already done. So that's what Luke's working on now, kind of looking at it holistically and seeing how to marry the stuff that we have together to get what we need out of it. So he was pinging me on Getter this morning, and I think he's making some good progress. So we have a design, we don't have an implementation. We've got kind of a half an implementation, and a couple of people are working on it.
Okay.
Just for reference, kind of interesting, the MailChimp numbers. We had a 47% open rate and a 9% click rate on the latest newsletter, which is about in line with our last 3 releases, as far as like Backdrop 1.4, 1.5, and now 1.6. Which, by the way, the industry average on opening mailers, according to MailChimp, is 13%. So 47% open rate and a 9% click rate is pretty awesome. Like our click rate is about normal people's open rate. So that's nice.
Yeah, that's good. Cool.
Wow, those numbers sound really bad. And then I think about all of the emails that I get and just instantly unsubscribe from, and I'm like, actually.
Yeah. I mean, going back to the newsletter thing, I wonder if maybe we don't need a newsletter this month. Like if we don't see a particular thing, like a good focus or an exciting to do it around, maybe overload people's inboxes, maybe just skip it.
Yeah.
I
think that's what we have been doing. And I think like not abusing our people with information that's not important is good. So that's kind of the way I was leaning too. But if there was something where it was like, oh, it would be really good, we should tell them about X, then I thought we should send one, but I couldn't think of what that was.
I think we should send a newsletter and say, we have no big news, so here's a video of a cat.
Please subscribe to our cat letter.
I bet our open rate would be really high.
Okay. So blog posts, we had a blog post in the queue for a while that was written by Columbia Blooms about how to get Backdrop running on Windows 10 that had been not published yet because I wanted the newsletter to go out and have the most recent blog post be the news about the latest release. But now the newsletter's gone out, I published that blog post today. And then when I did, I noticed he didn't have a profile photo, so I just put the dragon in there. I hope that's okay.
That should probably be our default.
Yeah, the default, there's something weird about the way that view was themed where the default image was a broken image. So that was the default, and I just copied it and put it into his profile manually. But I did ping him and get her and was like, if you want a different photo, please change it. But we do have good blog content up, which is good. It's fairly technical. It's, how to dig into your local setup to get things working smoothly. And I also like it because it kind of mentions that it's the same solution for Drupal and Backdrop. So it's a good, like, hey, if you're doing both these things, this will work for you kind of post, which is nice. Similarly with the blog, I'm not sure we have anything super urgent we need to notify people about, but I have been kind of watching Gitter, and when someone has a really good idea, I'm like, ooh, can you put that into a blog post? And sometimes people will, and sometimes they won't. But that's how I got Sam's Windows WAMP thing up there. I was like, we want this on the website. And he's like, okay. So yeah, I would just say anyone, if you hear anyone talking about anything that's really cool and you can kind of prod them to want to write a blog post, that would be fantastic. But I have no other ideas for what needs to go into the blog until we actually finish some of the stuff that we're working on and need to tell people about it. Let's see. So videos, we keep talking about how great it would be to have like instructional videos on Backdrop, and we don't really have anyone working on it. I can reach out to Brian again. He volunteered about a year ago to kind of think about how to organize videos and start making some for us, but I know he's been really busy through the winter. Maybe now's a good time to bother him about it. But if anybody sees any videos on Backdrop on the internet, we should also aggregate them into Backdrop's YouTube channel. So I stumbled across one the other day. I was actually looking for Nate's video on how to port a module, and I found somebody else doing like a blind review of Backdrop where they're like, I'm gonna try Backdrop, and they recorded the whole thing, and it was super fascinating. Although it was pretty old, it was a early version of Backdrop, and I think like maybe now isn't a good time to put that video in our feed. But if we see stuff like that in the future, it would be great if we could kind of grab them as they come out and throw them on there. So if anyone sees anything cool, we can do that. Let's see. Anyone have any thoughts on videos before I move on, or blog or anything else?
Nope.
Okay. So swag wise, I have t-shirts. They arrived, and the hoodies arrived too. And I updated the website last week. So if anyone wants t-shirts with a logo on them or hoodies with the dragon on them, we are all set. We do need to figure out next time we order, we should figure out what to order. And I know there's a PMC issue about that. We've been discussing. I think we've got some good ideas there. We hopefully won't have to worry about that for a few months now, at least, but we'll see. Other things, business cards, we have design. We need to find a legit printer. I think we're good on stickers. I don't know if there's any other swag stuff we need to worry about. Advertising. So I would love to set up some ad campaigns somewhere just to kind of help spread the word about Backdrop. But we have this tricky problem of, number one, not having a lot of budget for advertising, but number two, and probably more importantly, if we are going to be spending money on ads, we need to figure out some way to quantify if they're working or not. And since we don't have some kind of call to action like buying a product that we can count, it would be interesting to come up with some metrics of, like, is mentioning Backdrop on Twitter or downloading the product, like what are our qualifiers for that advertising being successful, and can we track people from the ad that we place wherever it is to the thing that they do, whatever that turns out to be. And if we can figure out what those metrics are, we might be able to figure out better what that's worth to us. And then we can try and raise enough money to fund that campaign. So I think there's a bigger picture here. Then we need someone to set up a Google ad. And that's the hard part. So this might be something we could involve Facet in too. Like they have a lot of experience doing ad campaigns for other clients. And if they're not working on a newsletter for us this month, they have some hours. Maybe we could help have them help us figure out like what we should plan on budgeting and how we should plan on measuring success. And that
if we were to start small and just do something like have a Google AdWords thing for when people search for like Drupal alternatives or something like that. And I think just getting people to click on our site when they're looking for Drupal alternatives is kind of a win for us.
So that would just be measuring traffic?
Yeah, like measuring click-throughs on it.
I think that sounds reasonable.
Just because it seems like that's our biggest sort of thing is capturing people looking for alternatives like Drupal 8. So just making sure that we have an ad and that people are going to it when they're searching for that would probably be a good first step.
Okay. Does anyone know how the pricing works on those ads? I don't remember. It's been so long since I've done it. I'll look that up and see if I can get some numbers, but it could be something where we could set like a cap. So we can figure out, you know, if this term is really valuable or if we need to change the term or whatever, we aren't going to end up spending all our money. I'll look into that today and see if we, because you're right, like if we could start with something really low that would just increase traffic, that would probably be a good win. I just don't want to end up like we don't have a lot of budget spending all of our money and not like everybody came to our site and then they left. I don't know. But yeah.
Figuring I like the idea of figuring out kind of the goal, like what the goal is of putting up the ads and like how to measure it. But I also like a simple thing that maybe hopefully won't be too expensive. And asking Facet for help sounds like a good way to utilize the services they want to give us, right?
Okay. That sounds good. So events. We just went to Sand Camp last weekend. It was small, and I think this is something we're going to be seeing at Drupal Camps continuing into the future, is that the size of camp seems to be decreasing. And I think that's also something we need to keep in mind for like deciding where to go. Like it might be more worth our time and effort to go to bigger non-Drupal events than it is to go to super smaller or smaller, super focused Drupal events. I do think Drupal is still super relevant to all of the people that attend those events, but I think like talking to a larger audience might be more important for us too. So I don't know. I felt like it was really good. We ended up having a fairly captive audience, and just because a bunch of other sessions were canceled. And so even though I think those people wouldn't have chosen to go to a backdrop session, by the time we were done with the session, they were all kind of nodding and agreeing with the things that they'd seen and enjoying the demo. And so that was kind of an interesting experience, but it's like you didn't necessarily want to come here because you didn't know that you wanted backdrop, but now you do. And that was a thing where it's like, wow, okay, that was great. Like I wasn't convinced that we were gonna sell people on it, and we did, even though they were, you know, and it was an interesting experience. So I thought it worked out super well for us. But in general, like when there are 6 sessions at any given time, and people have to choose between backdrop and something they're working on today, it is hard to get people in the room sometimes. They're like, oh, I'm not worried about that yet. So thinking about places where you know, we have more of a captive audience or a larger audience might be smart for us longer term. Upcoming, I don't know if anybody's planning on going to the Pacific Northwest Drupal Summit, but that is apparently this weekend. Starts tomorrow-ish.
Yeah, I'm not going. I was planning on going, but we don't have the money right now to fly up to Vancouver. So
very soon. Looks like it's a Saturday, Sunday camp, actually.
Yeah, it's this weekend.
Saturday, Sunday. And then Nerd Summit is coming up too in the Northeast. And that's a summit that traditionally has been sort of our market. Like they've included WordPress talks and similar. Nate and I went, I don't know if it was last year or the year before, but it was interesting. Even though it's supposed to be focused for developers, the Drupal people still massively outnumbered everyone else. I don't know if it's going to be that way this year or not, but I imagine that Jeff will probably go to that and he'll be able to report back what it looked like. And then we have, there's a couple of other ones coming up. Stanford, Drupal Camps Stanford is in April. And then Panama and CiviCon in May. So watch the calendar for those.
Yeah, I actually wanted, part of why I'm here is to speak about CiviCon.
Okay.
Definitely planning on going, or is anyone from Backdrop planning right now?
It's on our calendar, but we haven't actually made plans.
Where is it? When is it?
St. Louis.
It is.
Yeah.
Yep. So 2 folks from Palante are going, and it looks like at around that time, or maybe a little bit earlier, we'll be launching probably one of the first Backdrop Civi sites, making it go live. So Civi folks are excited about it, or I think they're interested in maybe highlighting that a bit at the conference.
Okay.
So it would be great to have a good, I think it's a perfect target audience, and nonprofits and educational things and things like that. And so it would be good to have a good showing there. My coworkers, Joseph and Morgan, are down to lightning talk about our site or like presentation. I don't think I'm going to be going because we already are sending the 2 Civi people at Palante. But it seems like it might be good to have someone, you know, there. Have the presence. So.
Yeah. 7th through 14th, that's a whole week. Are they doing like sprints? Do you know?
Probably, yeah, I don't know what that whole schedule is, but I know they do sprints. It includes that.
Okay. I'll look it up and figure it out. I think it would be great for us to go. I know we wanted to go last year and we ended up having a schedule conflict and it didn't work out. But yeah, I would love to go to that. If not, well, maybe let's bring it up in the other meeting today and see if anyone else is close and also wants to come. I don't know how their sessions work either. Like, yeah, we should look at. I'll dig into that and see what's going on.
Yeah, my coworker Joseph meant, which is more like a case study type thing. So
Yeah.
that'll be easy. And I think that's what I would love to see, a bigger session on Backdrop and maybe Backdrop and Civi together. But I don't think that interested in doing a larger session on that. So so something to keep in mind. But we can also see if other folks from Backdrop can't make it out, then maybe Palante can do a bit more. We'll see.
Okay, that sounds great. All right.
I also want to mention, sorry, along the lines of other events that we should be going to, the Nonprofit Technology Conference is one that is coming up very soon, probably a little too soon. It's March 5th. It's a big conference. It is, the right sector. It is expensive, and it's like weirdly dominated by proprietary software and weird stuff like that. But just wanted to put that on folks' radar, something that people might want to look into next year. Rutgers is going to this and presenting, but she's not presenting about Backdrop. If someone got me stickers, I might be able to get her to hand out stickers there or something, but
Okay.
that's about it.
Yeah, we can send you stickers.
Cool. Or, if that's for real, then I can give you her address if y'all want. And she's good at talking about stuff. Web stuff is not her specialty, so she won't be presenting on anything like this.
Okay, yeah.
Okay. Follow up with you.
Yeah, I think there's probably a lot of like conferences that we would do really well to be at that are likely have a hefty ticket. And that's kind of hard for us because it's like we don't really have funding to cover that. So whoever goes would have to kind of pay out of pocket. And it's hard to justify that if, there are so many free Drupal events you can attend. But,
Yeah.
or maybe, I don't know.
Wow. It's $950 just to go to the Nonprofit Technology Conference?
It's kind of ridiculous.
Wow.
It's late registration now. I know, it's extreme though.
Well, early bird was $850 for non-members.
Oh my God, yeah, we didn't pay that
for members.
because we're presenting. It's kind of, it's very interesting. And we hadn't gone, oh, we're being recorded. Yeah. But it costs less if you're presenting. So someone from Palante is presenting this year. Could be an option, like to try to go as a presenter and have some kind of good Backdrop session next year.
That sounds like a good idea.
Yeah, with that kind of price tag, you'd expect that they would pay their presenters rather than the other way around. Oh boy! All right.
A lot of money in nonprofit services.
Yeah, which is exactly why we should be in there. I mean, not to take all the money, but to save them the money, right? Like.
Yeah, I mean, not to sidetrack, but I think even in that kind of level of a nonprofit sector, Drupal still has such a bad rep as being so expensive and this and that. So I feel like, even at that level, people who have money to go to this conference, I feel like the interest is there for stuff like Backdrop, at least, a little bit. But yeah, so another year.
All right. Anything else about events before we move on? Okay. So next on the list is website. Obviously, we have a lot of stuff undergoing work right now. We have our new homepage updates. I spent some time updating the showcase content type recently too, because I started thinking that maybe we would get that out before we got the new homepage out and we would have something to send in a newsletter. So that add more useful sales pitch type information issue I've been working on. I think our content type is solid. We just don't have a lot of content up there yet. So I'd encourage anyone that's built Backdrop sites to throw them in a showcase, especially Jack, if you get your Civi site up. It would be good to show that one off too. And you don't necessarily have to make it all screenshots. I put a bunch of fields in there like, why did you choose Backdrop for this project? That I think could be really relevant text-wise to people and doesn't necessarily matter what they look like, although it's nice if they're pretty. We have, let's see, the documentation section is up, which is great. Thanks, Tom. We're working on the forum, which is actually at a different URL. It's going to be forum.backdropcms.org, just so we can try and handle traffic differently on both sites. Yeah, there's a lot of stuff kind of that we're in the middle of working on for the website, and I would love to see some of that get closer to completion. The forum stuff right now is blocked by Bakery module, which Doc Wilmot ported for us, and I ran into a couple of issues last week with API changes that hadn't been documented. Things like removing the IP lookup stuff. There are functions that the module was calling that I just had to kind of rewrite the module around them. So I added some change records which was good. But yeah, we just need to wrap that up. I think it's pretty close. And then, yeah, I don't know. Is there anything people specifically want to talk about backdropcms.org rather than just running through this whole list?
I don't think we have any new items particularly related to, marketing or outreach. So I think it might be best if we skim this or save it for the dev meeting if we can get an update on any progress at that point.
Okay. Well, that's it for the official agenda. Is there anything else that we want to talk about in today's outreach meeting? I know Doc Wilmot tried to join last week and was it last week or 2 weeks ago? And our meeting was really short and he came at like 12:40 or something. And I really want to know what he wanted to contribute. So I'm going to try and ping him and see if he's around today, if he has any thoughts. But otherwise, man, this is a great outreach turnout. It's just like the perfect timing where Mike came back and Jack had something to contribute and Tom jumped in and Nate was available. So thank you guys for all coming this week.
Go us.
Yeah. Yeah, I'll be trying to make it to these, especially, I think I'm obviously invested in a concerted effort around the whole city backdrop push. So hopefully March, April, May, we'll be able to work on that more. That might be a good news.
Okay. Any word from Dr. Wilmot, Jen? It's probably.
I haven't pinged him yet.
Oh.
I'll do it after the meeting and see if he's around and has anything in particular he wants to move forward on.
Okay. Okay. Well, let's call it a meeting.
All right. Thanks, guys. We will see you in half an hour, maybe.
Okay.
Take care.
Thanks, everybody.
In the next one. Bye.